Hey guys, so it's an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with the patch 3.A patch review. So I'm recording this almost instantly from when it released, but I don't believe it's actually live yet because I went into the game. I didn't really get the update to patch 3.2A, so maybe it's coming out in a while. But generally, they release the notes when the patch itself is releasing or about that time, so I do believe it will be pretty soon. Anyways, not too many changes in this patch, but a couple of really impactful ones, so we're gonna start going through it. So first up, we have Elemental Rift, and I really love what they did this time. So this time, they brought back the Dragon Soul. So they brought a new point system where the first team to reach 3 points will get a Dragon Soul. The first 2 dragons that spawn on the map will provide 1 point each, and after the first 2 dragons are slain, the next, every other dragon that comes up will be worth 2 points instead of 1. So, what this means is that the fastest you could possibly get Dragon Soul is on the 3rd dragon. So if you got the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd dragon, that would give you 4 points, you get Dragon Soul. If you get the 1st dragon, you give up the 2nd dragon, and you get the 3rd dragon, that's still 3 points, that's still Dragon Soul. And the longest time it could possibly take for a team to get a Dragon Soul is 4 dragons. For example, if the red side takes the first 2 dragons, that's 2 points. The blue side takes the 3rd dragon, that's another 2 points. And either side takes the 4th dragon, that's Dragon Soul. So now I really like where this is going, because this means that the earliest possible Dragon Soul is on 3rd dragon, that's about 15 minutes plus, and the latest possible Dragon Soul is at the 4th dragon, which is 20 minutes plus. Now this is amazing because I felt that on the first test, having to slay 3 full dragons to get the Dragon Soul was too long, because the longest possible time it could take to do that is 5 dragons, and of course the earliest is still 3, but it's not quite balanced, so sometimes it takes too long to come online. Whereas when they had Dragon Soul on 2, that was way too quick. You had to pretty much contest the 3rd dragon no matter what. You could get Dragon Soul on 2nd dragon or 3rd dragon at the latest, so that was way too quick. Dragon Soul is supposed to be something more of a game ender and shouldn't be that early into the game. So with this new point system, I think this one is gonna really work out in terms of Dragon Soul, because Dragon Soul is supposed to be kind of a game ending kind of buff where you get at 16 minutes, 22 minutes, that kind of deal. So I really think that the timing is pretty good on this one, and I think it's really exciting that we're getting back the Dragon Soul. And with that, also the terrain will now change after the 2nd dragon is slain, not after the 1st one, which I think is fine. I think the terrain change on 1st or 2nd dragon, I don't think that is too significant in my opinion, because at the end of the day, the terrain changes by just a little bit, so I don't think that's too impactful, but yeah. So that is really good. So all random ultra rapid fire is coming soon, but of course this time it's not a free selection, it's all random. So yeah, it's coming back on the 3rd of June. Now, new skins, we got the Cosmic Blade, Master Yi, as well as Lulu, as well as we have a Pulse Fire line releasing on 2nd June, and also got Majestic Empress Morgana releasing on the 7th of June, so a ton of accessories here. We also got a number of upcoming events. First up, we have the Join the Fluff Noxus. As you guys know, this is normally a very small scale event where it's pretty much very easy to complete, just normally 10 missions that you can do concurrently, and you normally get an icon for it. And next up, we have the Cosmic event. So, Cosmic event, you can have a chance, it's sort of a gacha style event where you have a chance to get Cosmic Master Yi and Lulu, but the event is only for Southeast Asian region. So they did come up with a post on that recently. I find it really strange how they now do area exclusive events, which kind of sucks, because if you're not in Southeast Asia, you can't get that event, and vice versa. If you're in somewhere else, let's say you're in the States and there's an event there that the rest of the world can get, I don't really like where this is going. I don't think that's very fair, but hey, we can't do anything about that, so I guess it's gonna be a thing now. Next up, we have the Pride 2022 event. If you guys recall from last year's event, they gave you about 8 free emotes with all those rainbows. You had a rainbow home guard. Probably the rainbow home guard is going to come back, and we'll see about what other kind of rewards you can get from the event when we get there in not too long of a time. Honestly, this is 26 May. That's a day or two later, and June 1st is about under a week later, I believe. So it's all pretty soon. And here we get the champion changes. So first up, Alistar. His Triumphant Roar, which is his passive healing. Self-heal is going up by quite a decent amount at higher ranks, but a little bit at lower ranks. Heal for ally champions also going up by a very decent amount at higher ranks, actually quite a bit, just a little bit at lower ranks, and the cooldown reduced per crowd control is going up from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. That means every instance of crowd control you hit reduces the cooldown of your passive by 10 seconds instead of 8. So that's a buff overall to his passive. And his headbutt is getting a 0.5 second cooldown at all ranks, so just a tiny bit of cooldown reduction. Now I think the more significant one is the passive, where Alistar does have that healing aspect of his kit, which barely or rarely really comes into play. Like, it's good to have and when it procs, but it isn't really something you really play around, and it still isn't going to be something you play around. But I kind of find this a little bit strange, and they're trying to buff the like basically the sustain capabilities of Alistar for himself and his allies, but really Alistar is, you're gonna pick him for being an engaged tank. Like, if you wanted someone who can heal people, you always go for like more like a Janna, you know, a Karma, Soraka, even Sona, you know, and then channel support. So I think that this is just, it just makes Alistar better, but I don't think it's gonna really change like whether you'd pick Alistar or not, basically. Like, it's just basically Alistar is already in a pretty good spot in the meta. Now he's just a little bit better, but I would say just marginally, because the heal isn't really a very big deal, in my opinion. So next up we have Camille. Camille is honestly just getting gutted, like patch by patch. Like, they nerfed her passive shield cooldown by nearly double. They nerfed her Q before. They nerfed her W's cooldown before. And the W healing, I believe they nerfed it before. They nerfed the E's cooldown. They nerfed the E's stun duration before. They nerfed the ult's cooldown. They nerfed the ult's damage and changed it to like % bonus health damage before. And now she's getting even more nerfs. So this is probably, in my opinion, going to be the most major nerf Camille can ever have. Because this is really, I think this is really the main part of what makes her really strong. Her precision protocol, the second second charge of it, gives you 100% true damage. Now what they're doing now is, instead of giving you 100% true damage, at level 1 you only get 40%, at level 5 you reach 60%, at level 9 you reach 80%, and level 13 you reach 100%. So basically whenever you level up your ultimate, you get more true damage. But now from going from 100% to 40% in like the laning phase is, yeah, you know, you can see it's cutting her true damage by more than half. So she's going to be way weaker in the laning phase, and she's only going to reach back to full strength like at max level, not max level, but level 13, which at that point, does it matter? Yes, it does, but you lost so much of her power throughout the entire rest of the game. Like, when you reach level 13, it's going to be like, what, 15 plus, nearly 20 minutes into the game already, where you probably either be split pushing or team fighting, and yeah, I don't know about this one. Like, this is a pretty huge nerf, and the movement speed you're getting also is dropping by quite a bit, at 10% at all ranks, which is nothing to scoff at, because movement speed, as we all know, is a really important stat, especially when you're in those fights, skirmishes, team fights, etc. And now, her Hextech Ultimatum. They've mentioned here that they are able to use their no longer able to use the stasis enchant after using her ultimate. So basically what Camille could have done last time is you ult someone and then you stasis yourself. So basically you trap a enemy inside your hexagon, and your team can just destroy them while they cannot do anything to you. Because the only way to counter Camille's ultimate is, number 1, you kill her, number 2, you kick her out of her ultimate, like with the Lee Sin ultimate with an Alistar hit, but just remove her from the ultimate and it will go down. But if you stasis, you basically negate both counters to your ultimate, so there's no counterplay to like ulting and pressing your stasis. So with this, Camille becoming untargetable causes the ultimatum's effects to end. So if you become untargetable from the stasis, you basically lose your ultimate. So you can't do that anymore. That is also a pretty huge nerf to Camille, but I personally don't think it's as bad as the precision protocol nerf, because not every Camille took stasis. Some took teleport, you know, some took gargoyles, some took protobelt, etc. So not every Camille was doing that as a like main strategy, so it's not as bad, but it's still pretty bad. Also, the ult duration is going down at higher ranks by a full second at max rank, and 0.5 seconds at second rank. At first rank, it's still the same, but man, oh man, Camille's just getting nerfed non-stop, and she was the best Baron laner. I highly doubt she will be anymore after the Q nerfs, but yeah. Ekko instead getting a huge number of buffs. So he has been underperforming. I kind of agree. I think in mid lane he's just like in A plus tier at best. Same goes for the jungle, A plus tier at best. Not even creeping into the S tier, but we all know that new champions always make it to at least the S tier, if not the S plus tier eventually. So they're buffing Ekko a ton basically. So they gave their favorite 40 health buff. Helps his sustain in lane and especially in the jungle. 5 more armor helps his jungle clear by a lot. And base mana going up by a little bit. So in lane, you can use maybe 1 or 2 more spells before you need to recall if you're having mana issues. But don't really think Ekko has that big of mana issues, so I think it's fine. Time Winder, his Q, now deals 130% damage to monsters, improves his clear yet again. He really needs a better clear, because Jungle Ekko should be viable, but you kind of almost die to the first buff unless you get a leash, which you can't guarantee every time. Parallel Convergence, his W, passive, base missing health, magic damage is going up by 1 base damage percent plus 0.5% AP to the overall percentage. So that's a little bit confusing math, but basically he's going to be doing more damage to low health enemies, which is great. Not by a whole metric ton though, just by a little bit, which still helps. AP ratio and phase dive going up by 10% also helps. So he's going to overall just do more damage and have a better jungle clear. So that's pretty good for Ekko. I think that they want to make Ekko good. I mean, they want to make every new champion good, so not really surprising. Fiora getting some buffs. So, recall that the first nerf they ever gave Fiora was a 40 health nerf. That was the first nerf Fiora got. After that, she got a couple of other nerfs, including the lunge range nerf, which is the one that killed her. Now they're giving her back the 40 health that they took away from her, and the lunge damage is going up by 10 at all ranks. Now, Fiora's in a pretty strange spot because now she's not like the OP pick anymore, but she's still alright. She's still good if you're good at her, but just that a lot of people have been used to her ranges, and it's really hard to get used to new ranges, which is why I hate when they change ranges. But I really think that this time it was kind of valid because Fiora's range was kind of ridiculous. But either way, they're trying to compensate by giving her a little bit more damage on her lunge. Now, personally, I don't think this change is going to make her good again. I think she's just going to be slightly better than what she is now, but definitely the ranges on the lunge is what made her really, really OP, and that's no longer the case. So Fiora, I think now is in an alright spot, in my opinion, at least. So next up, we have Gragas. So Gragas, AP Gragas especially, really, really strong, really popular in pro play as well. And so the travel speed on his ultimate is going from 6 frames to 8 frames. So basically it's going to travel a bit slower, give you a little bit more reaction time to flash out, dash out, even maybe walk out if he's hitting you with the edge. So yeah, there we have that. Graves, apparently he's one of the most dominant junglers. I don't know about that. I haven't actually really managed to play Graves in the jungle after for a couple of patches now, basically. Because I have been getting my main role of ADC pretty much 100% of the time now, which is really good. So I didn't really have to play Graves in the jungle. His damage to monsters going down from 150% to 120% on his end of the line. Now I recall that they buffed this from 120 to 150. Like a couple of patches ago. So I basically think that they're just reverting the buff, which is fine. I think his clear is still gonna be alright. Now, Irelia. Ionian Fervor, which is her passive, damage to monsters going down by half. Now, why is this the case? Irelia basically is OP now, and you can play her in mid, play her in top, and play her in jungle. Of course, her best role is still mid, but in jungle, she does really well as well. So basically, this is gonna hurt her jungle clear, so they're trying to kick Irelia out of the jungle. Now, this is what I was referring to. Remember how I said how Fiora and Riven could easily be kicked out of jungle? All they had to do was reduce their damage to jungle monsters. It wouldn't affect them in the other lane. So this is exactly what they're doing to Irelia. They don't want her in the jungle. So they're nerfing her passive damage in the jungle, which basically makes her jungle clear bad. And if you make a jungle clear bad enough, eventually you will kick the champion out of the jungle, because they need a good or decent enough first clear to warrant picking that champion in the jungle. So we'll see if that's what it does to Irelia. But they could have done the same thing to Fiora, and they could have done the same thing to Riven, and Riven is still a pretty good jungler. So yeah, if they want her to be a laner, they could have always done that. So Nunu, cooldown on his consume is going down by 1 second. Nunu getting buffed slowly but surely. So I guess he must not be doing very well. So 1 second cooldown is nearly negligible, just gonna help him that little bit. Olaf, we all know, is really, really OP at the moment, and has been for like the past like 3 patches or so. So what are they doing? They're reducing his undertow, which is his Q, the axe damage, by like 10 at all ranks basically, and the slow is going down by 5 at all ranks. Now, how much do I think this is gonna affect Olaf? Barely, because the part that made him strong was Mainly his E, but also his like insane attack speed sustain, as well as his ultimate giving him CC immunity. Those three factors combined make him OP. And the slow from his undertow does matter because he has to chase people down, so you do lose 5% there. I think the damage part is not too important. The slow, 5% slow that you lose is the more significant part. But overall, with like Ghost or with like Righteous Glory and Chan, you're still going to be able to catch up to them. So I think that this nerf is a step in the right direction, but I don't think it's going to make Olaf weak or like kick him out of the S plus tier of the jungle. So Renekton, I clearly have been overestimating his power by quite a bit in the Baron lane. I still put him in S plus tier, but maybe he's not quite there. His health regen going up by 7.5 to 9 because he's apparently pretty weak at the moment. Now, I do think he's a lot less popular than what he was, but I don't think he's that much weaker. Riot's stats say otherwise because they're giving him a buff. So Dominus, his ultimate, the damage per second is going up by 10 at first rank, but by 30 at max rank. So 150 damage per second is pretty good compared to 120. I mean, the 30 damage per second, which is gonna stack every second if they stay in your ultimate, is gonna be pretty significant. So pretty good buff to Renekton. Veigar getting buffed yet again. Cooldown on his W going down by a second at all ranks, and Event Horizon crowd control going up by 0.25 seconds at all ranks. I mean, Veigar, we all know the problem with Veigar, which is the fact that he has to get to late game. So I guess the cooldown helps you stack up a little bit easier, and of course a little bit of increased crowd control is going to help by a little bit, but overall don't think this is going to change Veigar too much. Ziggs, the Explosive Minefield cooldown is going up by 2 seconds, and the Minefield duration is getting another nerf. So it used to be 10 seconds, and they nerfed it to 7 seconds, I think last patch or the patch before, and now they're nerfing it to 5 seconds, effectively cutting it in half, which I kind of like this change because even though I do play Ziggs myself as an AP carry, I think that his Minefield staying there for so long and just zoning people away, like especially at the choke point at Dragons and Barons, or just in general at any choke point, is pretty insane. How you, like, if you walk through, you're gonna take a ton of damage, but you can't wait for it to go down because that's a full 10 seconds, at which time you probably already have died. So I think this change is pretty good because it's gonna bring Ziggs' power level more to what it should be in line with the rest of the champions. At the current stage, I still think he's really strong. Alright, gameplay changes. So Frozen Heart, it's a niche item. Yeah, I think it's decently, I mean, the reason why it's not popular, like Frozen Heart and Iceborne Gauntlet, which is the next item, I think that the reason why they're not popular is just because the other tank items are too good, like Sunfire Aegis, Dead Man's Plate, is way too good. Thornmill is pretty much a necessity because you need the Grievous Wound. So those 3 items already take up like 3 slots. If you're a support, you might go for something like a Zeke's Convergence and Protector's Vow. So you wouldn't have space for these items. And if you're a non-support, as I said, you normally go for Sunfire, Deadman's, Thornmill as 3 of your items already. So you only have 2 more slots. You normally need some like Magic Defense or Magic Resist. So you go for like Force of Nature and you really only have 1 item slot left. At which point the game is either over or you could finally opt into one of these items. So they're trying to make it more viable. How so? On the Frozen Heart, you're getting an extra 5% ability haste. Okay, good to have, not a deal breaker. The cost going down by 150. Now, I think the cost is a more significant part because we have seen that costs on items have always been significant in changing how popular or how good the item is. Now, the issue with Frozen Heart is you lower the cost, you up the ability haste. It's good and all, but it's still competing with like Sunfire Aegis, Dead Man's Plate, and Thornmill especially as a early item option. And in theory, Frozen Heart should be really good because there's a lot of auto-attacking champions who have a lot of attack speed. So I personally do go for Frozen Heart, but as I said, the other items are just higher priority, and I can't see Frozen Heart being built instead of a Dead Man's Plate. I mean, we might see that eventually, or we might even see that after this patch, but at the current stage prior to this patch, even though Frozen Heart's passive makes a whole load of sense to build, it just never really is built just because other items are higher priority, so hopefully this will make it more competitive. Next up, we got the Iceborne Gauntlet. So Iceborne Gauntlet getting quite a huge number of adjustments. The mana is going down by 200, in exchange you're getting 250 health. So that's pretty interesting. It's better as a tanky item because you get more health. The only person who's really going to suffer from this is Ezreal. So Ezreal with his Iceborne Gauntlet build, which I never really liked in the first place, is going not too good because less mana means less damage because of your mana immune passive, and more health of course is good for a survivability, but at the end of the day, I think you want more damage, not more survivability on Ezreal. So it's gonna hurt Ezreal, but on other tanks it's good because you get more health, you're more tanky, and also you get the Spellblade, instead of 100% bonus to tank damage, it skills with bonus armor as well. So the slow area already scaled with bonus armor, and now the damage is also scaling with bonus armor. So this could work on, you know, champions with stack armor. Think of someone going for like Sapphire Aegis into Deadman's Plate. Then, as I said, you probably get Bramble Vest. Maybe you go for Iceborne Gauntlet. You know, you get slow, you get damage. Then you probably get into the Thornmail and maybe a Frozen Heart, a Force of Nature or whatnot. So could give tanks you know, some kind of damage. 25% bonus armor at the end of the day. Even when you build armor, is really not that much, but it is definitely a noticeable amount of damage. So pretty interesting item for tanks. But the combined cost, 2700 to 3100. Oops, didn't quite realize that. But 400 extra cost for these. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. As I said, it's competing with a lot of other items. I think the cost might be the deal breaker that basically makes it such that no one wants to build it. But yeah. So next up, rune changes. Conqueror, the full stack bonus damage going from 10% to 8% for melees and 7% to 6% for ranged champions. Now, I feel like this is, firstly, I think they want to push Lethal Tempo to be the default rune on ADCs. And I think that this 7 to 6% damage might be what does that, because the Conqueror damage is going to be a lot less competitive. And on melees, losing 2% is pretty major as well. But a lot of champions still have to default to Conqueror, because some champions who can't take Lethal Tempo, they have to take Conqueror. So this is really going to hurt those champions by that much. So yeah. And next up, Nimbus Cloak. They're changing the scaling to up to 35% movement speed, like on your flash. So on your flash, you're going to get 35% movement speed instead of 25, which is great for Nimbus Cloak users. Now, I personally thought Nimbus Cloak was okay, but I guess they thought that it was weak. So I guess it's better for people to take Nimbus Cloak, which is basically everybody if you want to. So I guess it's great for Nimbus Cloak as a rune overall. So with that, we pretty much reached to the end of the patch notes. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.